Okay, so for this video, I have a lot to talk about. I have just been looking at some posts that kind of just briefly mentioned about the left and the right. And it's something that's bothering me, actually. The fact that so many people seem to believe, sorry, there's something just popped up on on the computer. So many people seem to believe that the left is one thing and the right is something, and I don't think they see it correctly, because I feel like the left and the right are just two parties that change according to who's in their parties. And I think the left and the right in America is very different to the left and right in England, because the people in them is different and the people of the country is different. You know, I think the right does both on both cases. The right stands for the past, and I like looking at things that they did in the past to try and bring back to conserve past values and stuff. Now, in English, we've had a very different history to the American history, and therefore, you know, American history is all about putting Americans first, whereas the English history is actually about joining with other countries or making war with other countries and then giving it back to giving the countries back to their own countries. I don't know, but we're far more multicultural, so our view of conservative is different to the American view of conservative, and same with the left. Like, we've never had a left party in my lifetime, I don't believe. I don't remember any the left, Labour being involved, and I guess because of that I don't really know much about what the left is in England, so I don't really know what the left represents. So when people are talking about the left, I'm always just thinking of the left in America, because I relate it to Obama, or I related it to Obama and Biden and Hillary as well, and you know, when it comes to the left in America, I respected Biden. I respected Obama and Biden 10 years ago. Okay, I think in the later years he started getting older and older. Hence, I started seeing him more of a puppet, and that made me question like who is actually behind the party. And in Biden's case, I feel like I was very left at the beginning of his presidency, but by when his sort of corrosion of skills and memory started happening, it started making me question who is in power, and then I felt like the left party changed, because whoever was surrounding him seemed to be like people with open border policies. You know, I don't agree with open border policies. Now, if it comes to the left, I guess when I think about Obama, I used to think that, you know, equality, that treating people equally and bringing in Medicare, you know, he was doing some good things with that, and there were some things that I really liked about him and what he was doing, but I was also relating that to my experience of life. And you know, England 10, 12, 15 years ago was a fairly nice place, and okay, I don't really agree with equality, but when it comes to the English people, I did agree with equality. Why? Because I was looking around at people thinking I like them, you know, I don't really know them, but maybe they're just the same, and I had a much better view of England 20 years ago, but as time has changed, you know, as I've learned about social services, as I've learned about the police force and the grooming gangs, that they weren't helping, and then I've started realizing that England is actually like it's a country based on lots of different areas. Now, all these different areas have different principles, and there's some things in the government that people say that really angers me. You know, the idea that the disabled and mentally ill are the most vulnerable people in society, when a lot of them are actually living in Hampton Court or in nice places in London, or just in nice places in general, and there are other people that aren't mentally ill, aren't disabled, and yet are living in really dangerous areas, and yet for some reason they would assume that whether you're vulnerable enough vulnerable or not is to do with your abilities rather than your circumstances and wealth level, and you know what you do. If you're so poor you've had to do a job that has a high risk, then you are more vulnerable because of the job you've taken. If you are a kid, you are far more vulnerable than an adult that's thinking and capable of doing things, but not everything. You know, there's lots of different type of mental illness as well, and some people do just lie about their mental illness. And there's also this whole belief that if you treat everyone equally, you need to look at the poor and you know, help them more because they're poor, and you need to help them more. But what they don't seem to realize is that poor are poor because they spend their money badly, and that's why they're poor, because they spend their money on drugs and alcohol rather than spend it on, you know, the things that matter. And when it comes to kids and stuff, there might be a lot of people that would say, oh, I'm poor, I need money for kids, but they ain't going to be using any money you give them to help look after their kids. They're not going to be spending it on their kids. They're going to be spending it on themselves, whilst using their kids as some sort of battery to try and draw a magnet to try and draw in money. And I'm kind of realizing from over time, I've been less focused on England, and I've been seeing things online, and I feel more connected to the world and the different people and different places around the world. And something that was stricken in a video, something that was struck in my head on a video I watched, where some guy said that Labour is not good because they're going to these kind of, like, Tommy Robinson went to Gaza, saw all the poor countries, and was very tempted to want to give them money. And he said that he thinks that the Labour parties are doing the same thing. You know, they're very much on equality. They see the people of Gaza as just people who are just born in the wrong location, rather than see them as people that have bad ideologies and bad principles and can't tell the difference between right and wrong. You know, an Islamic woman can wear a veil and say there's absolutely nothing wrong with this is my choice and I choose to wear it and you need to respect my feelings. But at the same time, the other hand could be, well, actually, how we feel, how the other people feel. I don't like looking at people wearing face coverings or burqas in any way, because it always reminds me to male supremacy and male domination and male control and male violence as well, because when males get too much power, they start thinking they're better than others, hence they start feeling control. So when I look at a woman in a burqa, I think about all the women that get beaten up and are forced to wear burqas, but because of their burqas they've got bruises hiding. You know, I think of so many negative things that come with, why are you doing this? The rejection of the goddess, the rejection. And it's almost like I saw a woman just talking about how, you know, you need to respect me. This is, you can't be racist. It's hateful crime. If you say things that is hateful towards me, I'm not going to like you for it, so you shouldn't say it. But I'm just like, well, by you wearing that, you are actually building up anger in me, and you are not recognizing my feelings. Why should I put your feelings first when you are building up anger in me? Because I'm thinking of all the people that wear this because they've got bruises underneath, because their husbands have been beating them up to force them to wear this. And you're saying that by wearing this, I need to respect your feelings, but you're not respecting my feelings, because you know what? Maybe my feelings are more right than yours. Maybe my view on what a burqa stands for is, you know, if it stands for male supremacy. I do not like seeing people walk around wearing wearing a white triangle. Why? Because it stands for white supremacy, and I do not agree with white supremacy. Someone would not want to look at someone walking around wearing a white triangle, because it's white supremacy, and black people would not want to see it. In that same way, I do not like seeing women dress up like a black triangle, because I see that as being that is male supremacy, and I do not agree with male supremacy. Now, if you're going to tell me that I should shut up and not say anything because your opinions and your view and your rights to wear whatever you want is wear, that's exactly like a white supremacist wearing a white triangle saying, you know, I don't give a shit what your opinions are, because at the end of the day, I choose to dress like this, so you have to respect my views. But yeah, what you are dressing up is supposed to stand for something. It's supposed to mean, it's you protesting something. You know, a woman who's wearing a burqa is exactly the same as me dressing like a ham with a giant sign saying, I do not accept submission. I will not submit to a man. Should I walk around the streets with a big sign saying that I will not submit to a man walking around? I mean, I want to do that because that's how I feel. That's what I agree with. I think you should respect my opinions, that I do not want to submit to a man, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But I know that by doing that, I'm going to be antagonizing anyone that walks around with a head covering or a hair covering or anything, because you are wearing a hair covering because you are saying I submit to man. That you're not saying I submit to God because I'm God, and that is not what I like. You are saying I submit to males, and I don't like people who submit to males, because I think by doing that you actually create a very imbalanced society where males think that they're better than others, and when males think that they're better than others, they take the power that they have and they use it to abuse people. They use it to beat kids and stuff like it's males are kind of cruel, and they're supposed to be cruel because they're supposed to be the sort of more hunter ones. They're supposed to be the ones that do more of the protecting, and I guess they need something to protect, hence this is where the male and female come into it. And you know, That's how I feel, and everything she was saying about it was all that someone was asking her why she wears the burqa, and how is it racist to say that this is, you shouldn't wear this, or to insult you. And then they was even trying to explain how would you even be Islamophobic, because she was saying Islamophobia is bad and stuff, and it's hateful. Being Islamophobic is hateful, and they were trying to explain, well, what is hateful? Is it, I mean, if what's the difference between being hateful towards Islam and just having an expression? And she couldn't really tell the difference. And everything this interviewer was saying about this woman who was talking, I think it was on a TV show or something, everything she was saying, she couldn't really explain it. And it just made me think, this to me, it seems like a doctor asking a mentally ill person why they're mentally ill. Now, they're mentally ill because they're stupid, because they can't figure out the difference between right and wrong. They can't figure out what the truth is. And therefore, a doctor asking a mentally ill person why they're mentally ill, you might not actually find that they have the right answer, because if they had the right answer, they probably wouldn't be mentally ill. If you give my uncle 20 pills, and then a few months later give him a different selection of 20 pills and say, well, we've taken this away and we've taken this away and we've taken this away, which one do you think is best? He won't have a clue which one's best if his opinions won't actually be that valid, because he says all sorts of things. The other day he said that my auntie, someone who's basically ignored me most of my life, and I know nothing about her really, seen her a couple of times. She lives near here, but she refused to come to see my house when I first moved here, and I haven't had anything to do with her too. But he told me that she's an advocate watcher of my YouTube videos. Now, he's never told me that before in my life. I don't know where he got that information from. He always told me that Kathy didn't really know anything about me, or it wasn't really, didn't like me, yes, but he didn't say anything more about that. And I've, he hasn't even seen this person, the auntie, for about 5 years. He hasn't seen his sister for about 5 years, because she's refused to talk to him. So I don't know where he's getting all these ideas from. It's like he's making things up and just going with whatever feels right to say at the time. And therefore, you can't ask him questions about why he is how he is, because he won't know. And if you ask him in a month's time, he'll probably give you a bunch of different answers. And in that same way, you can't ask an Islamic person for good advice, because I feel like this interview was all just about, you have to respect my views and my opinions, and I'm going to make you feel bad and call you Islamophobic if you don't respect it. I'm going to call you racist as well, even though you can't actually see what colour skin I'm wearing because of this letterbox. Yes, I'm calling it a letterbox because it's a fucking letterbox. Me saying that's a letterbox is not me insulting you. That's me saying something that it actually is. It's like a letterbox, only there's nothing in your brain. Okay, me saying there's nothing in your brain, that's an insult. And you know what? I think I'm true. I think I'm right about that. Okay. I'm right about that, because you were only thinking about your views, your opinions, and you know what? This is what the Burka teaches. It's about submission. It's not about submission. It's about submission to yourself. It's about putting something on you so that you are entrapped in your mind, so that you only think about yourself, your views, your mind, and then you start analyzing all the reasons why you're depressed and what's wrong with other people who don't dress like you, because you've chosen to dress like this for a reason. You think it's good. You see how you dress is good, and therefore you start seeing anyone who chooses not to dress like you as being bad. And then you start analyzing all the different problems. Now that to me sounds like someone that's got a knife stuck in their head and they're having a headache, and they're going through, why do I have a headache? It's not because of the knife. I don't believe it's because of the knife. No, it's because of, this person doesn't like seeing knives. They're insulting me because there's a knife in my head, and they don't like seeing knives. They don't want me to walk around with a knife in my head because they are being against my choices. It's my choice to walk around with a knife in my head, and okay, yes, I'm getting loads of headaches, and I'm trying to analyze why I'm getting all these headaches, and I can't figure it out. Okay, yes, the knife in my head is the reason why I'm getting all these headaches. And likewise, if you're constantly thinking about all these different thoughts and you're wearing this burqa, that's what the burqa's about. It's about submitting to yourself. It's not about submitting to others. It's about not ignoring what others think, because I am God. If you've got my spirit in me, you would hate seeing someone in a burqa, because it would remind you of all the women that get beaten up and then forced to cover this so that you can't see their scars. That's what it reminds me of. Now, if you aren't willing to listen to my views and listen to my opinions, it's because you're wearing a burqa and you're saying, I only care about what's inside my head. I see things, not much. I mean, the fact that I've seen people drive and the slit is like that big. I'm just like, that's dangerous. How can you drive wearing I'm thinking about the other people around that you might crash into because you can't see properly. And to think that I'm going to be proud to drive around like this, and yes, okay, it might go like that, and I might have to go like that, and then take my hand off the wheel, and literally this slip was so tiny. I was just like, if that slips and you have to move your arm, it's like almost looking on a phone or something. You know, you can't see your view properly, and even if it is a proper size one, it's just, you don't want people to see you. Why? Because you don't want people to know you. You don't want people to associate with you. You don't want this is all about, it's not about submission. It's about self-belief. I believe in me. I'm going to dress like this because I don't want you to know me. I don't want to socialize with you. I don't want you to see, there was a neighbor that I've got 2 Islamic neighbors. So there's 3 houses. When I look out my garden, I see 3 houses, and I know 2 of them have cats. I believe one of them had 2 and one of them had 1, but it's true that the Oreo cat one, which is the one that has like a white paw with a sort of, I don't know, but if you put the white paw in a Oreo biscuit, it kind of looks like an Oreo biscuit. So that's why I call it an Oreo cat. But it's kind of got a darkish colour texture with like browny black stripes or something. So we've got that one, but I don't know if you know, because I've seen that one quite a lot of places. So that one might actually just be like some sort of alley cat that goes around. I thought it belonged to that house, but because I've seen it in that house, but I've also seen it in that house, and then the other day I saw it around the corner, so I don't actually know where that cat came from. But so it might just be that there's 2 cats, or there's an orange hunter cat, which definitely comes from that side, and then there's a black and white one that comes from that side, which I don't see that often. But that's the story of the cats. But yeah, there's 2 neighbours. I know what one of the guys looked like. That side, I don't know who actually lives there. Like one lady was always wearing a burqa, and I've noticed that recently she's not wearing it. She's taken it off. I don't want to say too much, and I don't want to be rude or anything, but I know she has taken her burqa off, and she used to always wear it before. But because she used to always wear it before and she's not wearing it now, I can't even recognise if it's the same person, because she was always wearing it. I don't know what she looked like. She's my neighbour, and yeah, I wouldn't be able, if you gave me 5 people and said which one's your neighbour, I wouldn't be able to recognise her until she started not wearing the burqa. Okay, sometimes she did not wear it through the house. Sometimes you could look through the window and you could see her, but it was mild. Like it's very dark. The sun is on this side, so you can't really see that clearly. But yeah, that's how bad things are. Like if you wear a burqa, people don't know who you are, your neighbours don't know you, so it's almost an antisocial thing. It's like saying, I'm wearing this burqa because I'm being antisocial to my neighbours. My neighbours don't know what I look like. If I take it off, they'll have no idea if I'm the same person, or if this is like a new family that's just moved in. I have so little knowledge of them. I see the guy on that side because he sometimes takes the bin out, and the one that's directly above me is a black elderly disabled woman who I think lives elsewhere, because I hardly ever see her. I see her about once a week, maybe even less, so I don't even think she lives there most of the time. I think she might have a partner that's in a different house, either that or lives in a hostel or something, I'm not too sure. But yeah, I have absolutely no clue who my neighbours are. I know this one, there's two. I know that the 2 next door on this side. One of them, his son helped fix my doors for quite a good price. It took ages, but he did a good job on fixing my doors. So, and he's a builder, so I know a lot about that family because of this. But and there's a couple that I know on that side. But yeah, I know when my sister was looking for a property, there was a house that we tried to look at, and it was an old lady, white lady there. And we didn't buy that one, and we went for this one, a different one. But yeah, that's an Asian family now. Although I don't know if it's been an Asian family for the last 4 years, or if it was a black family and then an Asian family. I can't really remember. Like I don't know. What I'm saying though is that the burqa makes you. It makes it harder. It makes it harder for you to know who's in there because you can't see them. Now, if you're supporting it and thinking there's nothing wrong with it, how can you see that when your neighbours don't even know what you look like because of it? And it's almost like it's antisocial. It's an antisocial thing. I'm wearing this because I want to hide from you, and I don't want you to know me, and I don't want you to see me, and I don't want you to talk to me. So I see it as a very anti-social thing. And if you're just going to sit there and talk about your opinions, your views, don't hate me because of this, I think you're not listening to us. You're not hearing us. You're not respecting our views. I wouldn't walk around with a big sign saying, I do not submit to anyone, so why are you wearing something that says, I'm going to submit to myself? Because that's what it says. You might see it as submitting to God. I don't see it that way. I see it as you submitting to yourself. and keeping to yourself, saying, I don't want you to touch me, I don't want you to know me, I don't want you to say anything bad about me. And in that same way, if you're walking around with a knife in your head, and you're saying there's nothing wrong with this, people just don't like seeing knives, and that's why they're like, no, it's because there's a knife in your head and you're bleeding, and it's, you know, it's disgusting seeing, and it's dangerous, and it's going to kill you, and you're obviously mentally ill, and I don't like seeing mentally ill people, you know. But if a mentally ill person is mentally ill, they're not going to see it that way. I want a knife in my head, that's my choice. Don't be anti-knife. You're just saying this because you don't like seeing knives. Yeah, I don't like seeing knives stuck in people's head, and I don't like seeing people walk around with knives, you know. There is a lot of Islamic people in my country, in my area, there's a lot of Asian people in my area, and I don't know the difference between an Asian person and an Islamic person. If there was a group of Asians walking around and they have good intentions, fine. If they're walking around promoting Allah, I just think of you know, wildlife and danger and the savageness of it. So I'm concerned about that, because I know what Allah represents. Allah represents the animals, the god of wildlife, and they don't know that, but I do. Hence, that's what it reminds me of now. If they are walking around with knives, or if a couple of them have a knife, you know, I see that as very threatening and very scary. And I think the left and the right are having this little seesaw, little power mind. You know, I want more power. No, I want more power. No, I want more power. And as they're doing this, there's this actual real threat that's growing, which is the Islamic community, and people who think it's fine to walk around with knives and think it's fine to attack people for doing the wanker sign or whatever. You know, that this is growing and this is getting stronger, and they're laughing at the sort of right-left seesaw that's going on. I'm better, and they're thinking, yeah, we support whoever likes us, whoever's not going to shut us up, whoever's not going to tell us, or not, you know, the wolf is coming in, and it's getting bigger and bigger. And I don't want to insult Asian people, because that's not how it is, you know. I did a cycle past after going to the cinema yesterday. I did a cycle past, and there was this group of Asian people, but they were playing a Sean Paul song, and I liked the song. And you know, if this is an Islamic group of people, no, an Asian group of people who know about God's hatred towards Islam, then I'm okay with this group. I should have stopped, and I wasn't sure if I should stop or not to find out what the group was actually about. The voice in my head just said no, but if I see it again, I probably will stop next time. And now that I'm thinking about it, I will stop to find out like what is actually going on. They had sign. I think they had some. I can't remember. I don't know, but it just reminded me of some of these large groups that I'm seeing. There's lots of images of in Birmingham where there's large groups of Asians, and I saw a big group, and I should have found out, but something in my head told me not to. But I'm now thinking next time I see it, I will take notice of what they're doing. But yeah, I needed to say all that, and I'd probably make another video. I just want to see if this is recorded.